Deep Dive Gaming.
Hello people, and welcome back to Deep Dive Gaming. I am the Mariner, and we are starting a brand new series that we are calling Sim Settlements 2 for Science. And in this series, we're going to be experimenting, sharing discoveries, solving problems. We're going to start by seeing if we can play Fallout 4 as if Sim Settlements 2 were there from the start, developing a natural progression where you advanced in both stories in a narratively immersive way. Along the way, we're going to see if we can build our settlements to grow organically, building up one that can support the next, building it in turn to support the next, and so on. We'll get more into that later. But first of all, we're going to go through our mod settings really quick. You'll probably see a couple of familiar ones here, namely Loot Detector and Sim Settlements 2, along with You and What Army. But let's go ahead and fast forward through the Loot Detector settings so I can show you the Sim Settlement 2 settings. Okay, Sim Settlements 2. I'm not going to go through every single one. I'm just going to point out the ones that I'm changing from their default. Operating costs will be off during this playthrough. We're not probably going to be doing any city plan building, but if we ever do, we want these things off. Involvement, we want that to match global. Self-power objects will be on if we elect to do city plans, and we're going to say yes to most of this. Just operating costs to off. We'll leave those alone. We'll leave all the difficulty settings on. Resource complexity components, water requirement on. All the disasters and disease settings to their defaults. We're going to go ahead and override the timers in HQ when we get there. And then we are looking at turning off the dynamic soundscape and the holiday decorations. We don't see them enough to really make it matter. We're going to turn off visitors just to avoid confusion. And then for upgrades, we don't want these to auto pay or automatically upgrade. Because of what we're going to be doing, we're actually going to leave the commands to upgrade to manual, and I'll explain that in a little while. So that's all accomplished. Turning off the auto place power poles. Foundations are yes, power poles are no. Per terraformer grading delay, we'll put that at 15 seconds. That seems to work okay. Alright, and then HUD, we'll leave that to be always on. Always on. We'll turn everything back to never auto hide. And then performance, I think the only thing we need to worry about there is respect build limit. Then on to workshop framework. We do not want to have the max NPCs by charisma. We don't want to cap settlers by bed count. Part of what we're going to be doing is seeing how many settlers we can possibly get that is practical. Robot count towards population off. We'll set that to 100. And then I think that's it. So now we just need to reach Sanctuary and talk to Codsworth, killing bugs. Alright, so here we are in Sanctuary. I'm going to talk to Codsworth, but I won't show you the dialogue. We'll just skip ahead to after that. I will be right back. Okay, we've talked to Codsworth. We've cleared out the settlement of bugs. There are two things we need to collect before we get too crazy and burn the place down. So, inside here, we have the Your Special book. Okay, now that's grabbed. Grab the Robco magazine over here that gets you started on the Sim Settlements 2 quest line.
Perfect.
Bingo. Alright, so now it's time to burn this place down. And to do that, let me show you the mods I use. If you're using the same ones, they are in your miscellaneous inventory. You have to make the Clean My Settlement holotape at the chem station, but you get this one at the start. Start with this one, work down the list, then come to this one and work up the list. It's probably the best way. And then I'll bring you back when I have a nice and clean settlement. Okay, here we are in a nice clean sanctuary. Well, relatively clean anyways. And so the next step we want to do, and we want to do this on all settlements if your system can handle it, is to go to the workshop framework manage menu here and configure build limits and put the build limits up to 400%. If your system can handle this, do some testing first. Make sure that you won't break your system or bog it down or make the game unplayable by trying to expand your build limits beyond what your computer system is capable of. Next thing we want to do is create a city planner's desk. As you can see, I've moved some of the crafting stuff nearby because I'm going to be on this platform a lot doing things, and we will go ahead and put this here. And hey, look at that, we leveled up. So now that we've got that done, we have enough resources to build ourselves the starting items to get us on the path of the Sim Settlements 2 to meet Jake. We'll lay down a generator, we'll lay down a radio beacon, and then as soon as Jake appears and we finish our initial conversation with him, we'll take these down. Oops, I got it wired up. The reason we take these down after we've spoken to Jake is so that we don't leave it running and collecting settlers when we're not ready to. It's not a good idea to have more settlers than you have places for them to stay because it does affect happiness. This will attract 2 right off the bat, and then as we proceed through Jake's quest line, we'll get a total of 5, and then in the next episode we'll go collect the Quincy 5. So that'll be a total of 10. And I'm just going to fast forward through this. Alright, so we've been given our first ASAM sensor by Jake, and he's told us to build a residential plot. Time to store these, and we'll go ahead and build that plot. I'll fast forward to the end of that process. Alright, there we go. Our residential plot is made. Time to scrap it. Notice we can't do it through here because it says it's disabled during this portion of the quest. However, you can scrap it this way. There we go. So, the next part of our quest is to head down to Concord. We'll do that by way of Red Rocket, and I will meet you there. Alright, here we are at Red Rocket. We will greet the dog, we'll clear out the mole rat infestation, we'll do some cleanup, set the workshop, and so on, and then I'll bring you guys back in for our journey down to Concord. Alright, we've got our Red Rocket settlement build limit set to 400%. And we've got a nice, Jake. And we got a nice clean settlement here. So now we can go on ahead to head south towards Concord. And I'll see you again just before I go into the museum, because we have to do that. Okay, here we are outside the Museum of Freedom. Now, by way of explanation, Kingath had set up this mod so that if you go in and come right back out, it forwards the quest line. But I ran through this as a rehearsal and it didn't seem to work. So we have to go through, but that's okay because that gets us stuff inside that we need for building and the minigun to be able to take out the Deathclaw. So I will meet you up top. Before we do that, just to check in, and then we'll go from there. Alright, here we are. We've got our loot. We need to enter our fusion core and then go kill some baddies. So, I will meet you on the other end when we get back to Jake's shop. Alright, here we are. Deathclaw defeated, Raiders raided. Let's talk to Jake and get the thing we need from him. And this is what we were after. So now that I've got this, I will meet y'all back in Sanctuary and we'll continue building. And also, really quick, I wanted to note that I've already grabbed all the boxes of ASAM sensors that are here. I'm going to keep them in Red Rocket so that I have them available as I need them, and I don't really need to make more. See y'all in a second.
It was good working with you.
Yeah, you too.
Hey, where's that ASAM fella going? I wanted to ask him a few questions.
Well, if something's wrong, maybe I can help.
Maybe you could. You're the head honcho around this place, right? Well, I've got a request to make. You see, I noticed that there's a whole bunch of new people around here, so I'm thinking it might be best to put down a few more of these here sensor thingamabobs. You know, to make sure everybody's got a home, a place to work, and not to mention enough food.
That's a good idea.
Well, I've been known to have a decent idea now and again. These ASAM things seem very impressive, but we can only make use of them if you place them down for us.
Alright, here we go. We've got our first industry plot and our first agriculture plot as part of the plotting the future requests, but we're going to go ahead and store them for later because we are going to work on our second experiment, which is organic growth. Here's the reason for this. I've observed a problem when unlocking everything at the start, getting settlers quickly, and then building a bunch of settlements. That problem is resources. Unless you're one to spam cheat terminal to get loads and loads of resources, mainly wood, you'll be waiting a while for your settlement to build up. That might do for some, but the order in which plots are prioritized for building makes that difficult for the impatient. To quickly sum up, if you build everything you want right away, those plots that are higher priority get built, then you're waiting around for resources to be generated again for the next higher priority. But what happens when higher priority plots are ready to upgrade? They take resources away from building lower priority plots that haven't even been constructed yet. For example, residential plots and recreational plots have a higher priority than municipal plots. By the time you finally have the resources for your power plot, the residential plot wants to upgrade and those long-awaited resources get sent to that instead, and you're back to waiting. There are a couple of ways to overcome this. One is to turn off auto upgrades. The other is to build slowly. Wait for the resources to accumulate before you build, and only build what you have the resources for. We're actually going to do both. We're going to practice that here in Sanctuary first to see how well it works out. For science! And so, our first stage, we are going to build 2 junk plots and an ag plot and provide water. So, what I'm going to do here is build ourselves a nice platform to have our initial industry. I'll bring you back when I've got that assembled. Alright, here we have our nice concrete pad. I will admit to using cheat terminal to get the concrete to be able to do this because I didn't feel like wasting time gathering resources unnecessarily and they weren't going to impact the experiment. So, let's go ahead and lay down our industry plots. We'll do one here. Oops, surface snap. Turn that back on. So we'll put one here and one here. They will both be junk gathering plots because we need them to unlock the building materials plot. So I'm going to fast forward until we get these built and that unlocked. And there we go. Building materials plot. We're going to go ahead and convert this one over. And Make sure that goes. This is part of extended. This is a little interesting glitch in their cool, otherwise cool explosive thing. And then that's starting. Good. Okay, so before we get overly eager and start building our second set of industry plots, we actually need to do a little bit of domestic stuff here. We need to build an agriculture plot so that our morale is not affected by a lack of food. We're doing this now because if we built the other industry plots, we would not have enough resources to build this. And because it already needs water, we're going to do a couple of vanilla water thingies here. And then that should be good. And then we can build residences. Make sure this builds. We have to start construction here. Yep, there we go. Pay and build. Sweet. Alright. So that's underway. So we'll go ahead and build some residential plots. And then we'll come back here and wrap up. So I'm going to go ahead and cease here. In the next episode, we'll go ahead and grab the Quincy 5 and then explore southward. I look forward to this series. This is far more complicated than what I've done so far. Making these videos takes a lot longer to do, but I hope the payoff will be worth it. I'm having fun just doing the experimenting. I hope you're enjoying watching and look forward to seeing the results. A couple of announcements. I'm still continuing with the Let's Play tutorial series. We're going to go ahead and finish that quest line up through chapter 2 so that we've got it. Do some extra building in that series just to lay out some extra features that may not have yet been covered. But then we'll be switching to doing this series on a more regular basis. I have a Twitch stream where I'm playing Fallout 4 with Sim Settlements 2, and we're doing some of the experimenting there, but most of the time what I learn here is from doing that playthrough. So come join me on Twitch, link down below. If you want to know when the next video is posted, follow me on the Twitters. That's also linked down below. And until next time, I hope you enjoy playing Fallout 4 with Sim Settlements 2. Bye bye.